Hi, everybody. It's Matt. It's Fantasy Football Almost Daily. Today, it's the last day of our Draft Kit series where we go through our most important position, maybe the running back tiers. It's going to be me. It's going to be Trevor Jones. But before we get started, I needed to remind you about League Safe. You should use League Safe to collect all your fantasy fees this year. It's super easy to set up. You can download the League Safe mobile app. You can have a League Safe league set up in about 20 seconds. You copy the link, you either blomp it in your league's chat or you send it out via text message to whoever you want. And your league members can click the link and pay in. If they're using the League Safe mobile app, it gets real easy. If they're not, it'll bring them to the mobile web, and that works too. But in about 60 seconds, you could have everybody in your league paid up and ready to go. Use it on draft day if you're getting together for your drafts. Just go, hey, everybody, look, there's a little QR code on my phone. Scan it, zip, bop, boom, you're in, you're done. Everything's great. LeagueSafe.com and the LeagueSafe mobile app available on Android and Apple. Thank you for doing that for me. And as I said, we're going through the FFAD Draft Kit. And if you love this show, like, rate, review, all that stuff on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on iHeart, wherever you're listening, give us some love. It helps people find the Fantasy Football Almost Daily podcast. And my new podcast, Fantasy Football World, you might have heard of it. It's also available on all your favorite podcast platforms, including YouTube. Go check out Fantasy Football World with me, Paul Charchian, Scott Fish, and Brian Johnson. All right, let's get to Tate's intro music and let's get going on the Draft Kit Edition running back series. Here we go.
From the Sports Hub Games Network, this is Fantasy Football Almost Daily with your host, Matt Harrison.
T-Bone back again this week. How you doing, Trevor?
Doing well. We finally got some real football to talk about.
Yeah, we got
real, I guess.
Some real football and some real injuries, I guess, that have also happened in the last few hours. We're not going to get to those as much today. We're going to kind of stick in the running back world, but we're recording this one. It's August 18th today. Hopefully nothing crazy changes in the running back world that this is going to disrupt your tiers as you head into draft season. But I have a draft tonight that you're in too. I have a draft on Wednesday night, and I have a draft this weekend on Sunday. So we're definitely in the middle of draft season now.
Yeah, it's the middle of the meat grinder draft season.
Yep. So as we mentioned, we did all these draft kit series. We did tier rankings for everybody. We started with quarterbacks. We did tight ends. Last week, Maj and I did the wide receivers. That was a meaty one. There was a lot on the bone. We went over an hour, Trevor. That was crazy.
I appreciate you guys picking up the slack for me on that one.
So this week, we're going to do our running back tiers. And as we've done in all of them, I put 5 tiers together. Here's how I assign them this week. Tier 1 could legit finish as the RB1 overall in fantasy. Tier 2, if healthy, will probably be a top 10 running back. Tier 3, solid dudes that you'd be happy in your second running back spot in a 2 running back league. Tier 4, upside guys for your flex and maybe more. You'd probably feel uneasy as them as your starter in your RB2 position. And then tier 5 is dart throws, bench stashes, bye week fill-ins, that kind of stuff. So, Trevor, as I went through this, I have 13 guys in the top 2 tiers, and then I have 11 guys in the 3rd tier, and that's 24 running backs. To me, this year, with wide receiver and tight end and quarterback as deep as they are, I think I want 2 guys from the top 2 tiers and 1 guy from the 3rd tier on my roster. I want 3 of these top 24 guys on all my rosters this year when I leave a draft. What do you think?
I'm with you. That's how I've been approaching drafts so far, is to make sure I leave probably the first 4 rounds with 2 running backs. And I'm about with you. I got 11 guys in my top 2 tiers, and I think about 20 in the top 3 tiers. So just shy of that 24 mark.
All right. So we can just jump right into it. Tier 1, I didn't even put too much thought into the first two guys. And by the way, we go alphabetically here, not alphabetically by team, I should say, not by what we ranked them as. But it just so happened that the RB1 guys who could finish in tier 1 here, Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs, were the first two. In most leagues, they're going off the board as 1 and 2, unless it's a super flex league, then maybe they fall to 4 or 5. But Bijan and Jahmyr, I know Charch on our Fantasy Football World show said Jahmyr Gibbs is in line for the greatest season since LaDainian Tomlinson's like 30 touchdown year. And it could be because I think he's got something like 90 touchdowns in the last 3 or 4 years. So do you have any thoughts on Bijan and Gibbs? Do you like one over the other?
Yeah, I prefer Bijan a little bit. Just Jahmyr Gibbs is still kind of that like 195, 200-pound back. Those guys don't have an awesome history of holding up in the league. And this is the first year that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get kind of a full workload. Usually he's got 35% David Montgomery, to fall back on. So I think that just that little bit of pause, I would probably go Bijan straight up over Jahmyr Gibbs. But obviously, they're both elite players.
And Jameer's backup, Isaiah Pacheco, on the shelf right now with an injury, so that makes things even more Gibbs-centric right now. I have 3 other guys that I said could legit finish as the RB1 overall. Did you have any other ones in yours?
I have 2.
Okay, good. I have Jonathan Taylor. Do you agree?
I do.
Perfect. With all of the injury to the wide receiver position in Indy, and they just signed Keenan Allen yesterday, there's a lot of uncertainty in that passing game right now, and Daniel Jones is coming off an Achilles, and an Achilles for a quarterback, it tends to take them just a little bit of time to be able to plant, push off. I think that there's going to be a lot of dump offs to Taylor. I think there's going to be a lot of handoffs to Taylor. He tied a career high with 20 touchdowns last year. The last time he did that was 2021. And in draft season of 2022, we were all drafting him first overall.
Yeah, I mean, he was on an offensive player of the year pace before everything, turned to crap for the Colts last season. So I'm 100% with you. I think, you kind of just look at the first 8-9 games of last year, and if you extrapolate that out, like you said, he's RB1 is fully within his range of possibilities.
All right, I'm going to skip around from the alphabetical standpoint because I think the other guy that you have in this tier is going to be Christian McCaffrey. Am I right? There we
Correct.
go.
Yep.
He was RB1 last year. No one is drafting him close to that right now. He's going like 8th or 9th in most drafts. All the wide receivers are hurt. George Kittle is hurt. McCaffrey led running backs in receptions last year with 102, and the next closest was Bijan at 79. But the big if is, can he stay healthy? Will the substation gobble him up? If he does, he's probably RB1 in a PPR league again this year.
Yeah, he can't do it twice, can he? 400 plus touches.
I mean, he has done it twice, but not back to back.
Right. That's like you said, they're just kind of running out of bodies a little bit, right? Kittle's still getting up to speed. Mike Evans has been hurt. Deshaun Stribling, they like, but he's a second round rookie. How much can you count on some of these guys? So it's scary to be like the 30-year-old drafting the 30-year-old coming off this kind of workload, but he keeps proving us wrong. So he's still in that top tier.
There was I think I tweeted this the other night, but there was 12 high school seniors in my basement, my son and his friends, drafting their fantasy team, their teams the other night, and they were all asking me questions about everything. And one kid came up to me, is like, do I draft McCaffrey or do I draft Jonathan Taylor? And I'm like, well, I mean, neither is a bad pick. It's like, basically, who do you prefer? And McCaffrey's got just that crazy hockey stick upside where you can absolutely win your league, or he'll be injured in week 2 and you'll know for sure that you're going to lose your league.
Yep. That feels like those are the 2 outcomes that are lining up for him this year, potentially.
The last guy I had in tier 1, and maybe this is just my heart here, I have Devon Achane. On my other show, Fantasy Football World, I touted Achane as my choice to get the most running back touches and yards this season. And Coach Jeff Hafley, he listened to our show. And then after that show, he said, there's going to be some games where we need to carry Devon Achane off the field this year from such a high workload. He had over 300 touches last year. If he can get to 400 touches and he sustains the same average yards per carry and average yards per catch as he did last year, he'll hit 2,400 total yards. And if he can do that, he could legit finish as the RB1.
He could. So I have him in the tier 2 personally. My concerns are the efficiency won't be as good. Just losing Mike McDaniel and going to Bobby Slowick, who Houston let go as offensive coordinator a couple years ago. Not wild about that, but I'm with you that like the workload might be ridiculous. The other thing too is, I don't know, is Malik Willis going to check the ball down a lot?
He's going to check the ball down to Achane a lot.
Maybe. Yeah. Malik's more of a pull the ripcord, I'm just going to run it than Tua was, so I'm a little worried there. But yeah, I could see Devon Achane busting off like 5 50-yard touchdown runs and me, looking like an idiot at the end of the year.
I've always thought this, and I don't have a ton of data to back it up, but just kind of a side tangent here. Rushing quarterbacks tend to have a good boost to their running backs numbers too.
Yeah, I think specifically on the ground is where that comes into play.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to tier 2. I have let's see. I think that's 8 guys in tier 2 here. So let's start with alphabetically Arizona Cardinals running back Jeremiah Love, who's dealing with a high ankle sprain right now, but looked really good in that first preseason game when we saw him for the Cardinals. I will note, though, that Tyler Algier did come in and spell him on the opening drive and got 3 straight rushing attempts. I'd expect that to happen quite a bit this year, especially after he got dinged up in his first taste of the NFL preseason. And there's James Conner still there and a couple of other guys involved in that offense. I think Jeremiah Love's going to definitely be 1A, but I think Algier and James Conner probably cycle in more than people want.
Yeah, I'm kind of 2 minds on this because I had that thought too. I mean, they gave Algier a decent free agent contract, and he's a good running back. But then, like in their first chance to give Jeremiah Love action, they were like, "Hell yeah, we're doing this until he breaks." So I don't know if it's
and then he broke.
Yeah, so maybe they learned their lesson, and like you said, we'll kind of be a little more careful going forward. I'll be honest, if he hadn't had the high ankle sprain, I might be tempted to put him at tier 1. He looks like Adrian Peterson or like OJ Simpson, strictly on the football field. Like, just the way he gallops and the way he
not from the murder side of things,
not the murders or the strong handshakes or anything. No, but yeah, I was really like, it's rare to see a running back come into the league and you're like, you can just tell that guy's kind of special right away. So really a bit bummer that he's hurt, but I'm high on him.
All right. Another guy I think that probably has a strong handshake is Derrick Henry. Double-digit touchdowns in 8 straight years. Think about that. In Baltimore, in his 2 years in Baltimore, 16 rushing touchdowns in both years, 5.2 yards per carry last year, 5.9 yards per carry the year before, at least 1,700 total yards in both seasons, and has not missed a game in 4 years.
I don't know what else to say. Like, he's going to fall off at some point, but I don't want to be the first guy. I don't want to be a year early on the Derrick Henry fall off train. So I've got him in tier 2 as well.
So, yeah, I mean, we do the old adage, it's better to be out a year too early than a year too late on players like this. But then we also, I think on Fantasy Football World, we were talking that Derrick Henry might be that Thelma and Louise player that you just want to go over the cliff with no matter what.
Yeah, if I die going to flames with him, then that's the way it is. Yep.
Absolutely. All right. James Cook actually led the league in rushing yards last season with 1,621. He had 12 touchdowns. The reason he's not a tier 1 guy, he just doesn't chip in enough in the passing game. And he's just not on the level of those tier 1 backs because of that.
Yeah, he's a little more touchdown dependent than those other guys. And he's been great at it. He's got 28 rushing scores over the past 2 seasons. But I just don't think much is going to change. I mean, it's still the same play caller. The OC moves from OC to head coach. So I don't think we're going to see a big role change for James Cook.
All right. Chase Brown's the next guy I have. He was like the only Bengal who played every game last year on that offense. And his numbers when Burrow and company are in the lineup are significantly better than without, as you can probably imagine. My friend Brian Johnson touted Brown as his guy who could be RB1 overall this year. But as I just look at him, I think he's very talented, but I think he's like a B+ player in an A offense.
Yeah, and I think the other underrated aspect too was Samaje Perine was hurt a lot down the second half of last season, and
Mm.
they love putting him on the field for pass game work, third down work. So Chase Brown sucked up all of that action. So I don't know if he's going to get the same kind of workload if and Perine's healthy so far, so he's a good bet, but I don't know if we can count on him for kind of like the 20 touches a game that he was getting towards the end of last season.
All right. I've got Kenneth Walker next on my list. We saw him down the playoff stretch for Seattle. He walks into KC this year, gives them their best running back option since Kareem Hunt version 1.0. This coincides with Mahomes still recovering from the ACL. He's on track to start, and he's going to play. And Travis Kelce looking like Roy Kent out there and just being old and losing a step. And he's probably still fine, but you can just tell that 35-year-old body's moving a little bit slower than before. Obviously, I love Rashee Rice. I think that he's a fantastic wide receiver, but they don't have a lot else in the receiving game. I think Walker's in for a really big workload this year.
I think so too. I mean, you can tell the Chiefs were just tired of having the worst running back room in the league because Ken Walker was, the day one. Let's just give this guy 45 million and call it a day. I think, like you said, it's the lack of kind of explosive pass catching options anywhere on the roster. Rashee Rice kind of has that yak short yardage stuff sometimes, and Xavier Worthy gets open for big plays and then drops them or gets hurt. So yeah, Ken Walker is sort of the only path to explosive plays. And that's something they've really been missing the last kind of 2-3 years with these older players and guys who just aren't juicy.
They're not juicy. You know who's juicy though? Ashton Genty is juicy. And I should say he didn't look very juicy last year, and I've now said juicy too many times and it doesn't sound like a word anymore. 54% of his rushing attempts last year, he was hit at or behind the line of scrimmage. 80% of his rushing yards came after contact last year.
That seems like impossible.
It does, but their offensive line was otherworldly bad last year. Now, they did go in free agency and sign Tyler Linderbaum to the richest center contract of all time, and I think he's going to help quite a bit. The coaching staff with Clint Kubiak is significantly better than what Pete Carroll was last year. And the quarterback room with Cousins and Mendoza, I mean, that situation's better than what they were trotting out last year. So the situation for Genty is better all around, and the talent is definitely there.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've got for my notes too. I think the one thing is the floor will obviously be a lot higher for the offense. I also think they were so bad last year that they could be like, wow, much better this year. And it's like, well, this is still like the 24th, maybe 25th best offense in the league. Mm-hmm. So it'll be a significant jump, but I don't think it'll be good or even average.
If they can get to average, if they can get to 18th or 19th, that means Ashton Genty is a superstar in fantasy this year.
Yeah, it probably means Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers are the top three at their position.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I got two more guys in this tier. I've got Kyren Williams here, 1,400 yards, total yards, I should say, in each of the last two seasons. He's had at least 13 touchdowns in 3 straight years. And Blake Corum's good, but I'm not afraid of Blake Corum eating into Kyren's workload all that much. And I don't think they can throw to Devontae Adams at the goal line as much as they did last year. Can they?
I bet they'll try, but yeah, I've actually got Kyren in tier 3.
Okay.
I actually am kind of worried about him losing some work to Blake Corum. They started kind of giving Corum more work down the back half of last year. So I'm just not sure the starting job is as firm as it has been in previous years for Kyren. I mean, I still expect him to be the starter, of course. So I don't know. He's also a small guy with a ton of tread on him. Just a little worried there too.
There's the Sean McVay thing where he got to Los Angeles and like ran Todd Gurley into the ground immediately. And then I think he was like, I'm never going to do that to a player again. And so they, with aspirations of winning the whole dang thing this year, I imagine that Blake Corum's going to be heavily involved in the offense, but I think Kyren's just good enough that I think even taking some of the touches away, I think the quality of his play is going to be great.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And like when the chips are down, Sean McVay has talked about wanting to get other backs involved, and then they play Kyren Williams like 80% of the snaps and put him on punt returns. So, I trust what you say, and hear what you do, and trust what you say, or whatever the axiom is. Idiot.
Last guy I got in this tier is Saquon Barkley. Regression bit him in the butt last season, went from 2,005 rushing yards down to 1,140 in basically the same amount of games. The one thing that really helps Saquon, I think, is they have a new play caller yet again. It's Sean Mannion this time in Philly, and he comes from a Rams Vikings kind of tree of offense, and that's been fairly decent for running backs in the past.
It has, yeah. I got him in tier 2 as well. Just less efficient last year. They lost their offensive line coach, Jeff Stoutland, who's widely considered the best in the league. He was first in fantasy points per game in 2024 among backs, and he was down to 15th last year. So you just kind of see the efficiency slowing down a little bit. I know they're excited about Tank Bigsby in Philly. I guess he's had a nice camp as well. But I think there's enough work here that Saquon will be securely a top 10 back.
Did you have any other tier 2 guys that I didn't go over?
Yes, I actually just have one more. I put Omarion Hampton in my second tier.
That's fantastic, because I think that we should talk about him. I punished him down to tier 3, but
okay.
Go ahead.
So yeah, obviously the Mike McDaniel, we love that boost for everybody there. They upgraded at center with Tyler Biadasz in free agency. That was like day one free agency for them. So I know some people are worried about Kamani Vidal kind of having a significant workload. Kamani Vidal saw a decent amount of work in the preseason in the first game, while both Hampton and Keaton Mitchell did not play, indicating that those are kind of 1A and 1B. I think Kamani Vidal is more the direct backup if Hampton were to get hurt. I don't think he's going to be stealing touches from him.
I think Keaton Mitchell is the problem.
Well, that might be. Yeah, that's true. Yes.
So that was my worry with Omarion Hampton, that they've already been just talking in camp that they're going to take a hot hand approach between Hampton, between Vidal, and between Keaton Mitchell. And everybody's already talking about, oh, Keaton Mitchell looks really good in camp. Obviously, he's a Harbaugh brother transfer from Baltimore to Los Angeles, which they've done quite a bit of. I'm just a little nervous about Omarion Hampton. I got Hampton in a couple of dynasty leagues. I'm hoping for the best. I'm really excited about the Mike McDaniel offense, but there's just enough mouths to feed, and he hasn't done it all by himself yet to where it's given me pause.
And that's totally fair, right? He was not healthy for a decent portion of last season, so maybe he can't, handle that full workload.
Yeah. And so that's why I have Omarion Hampton in tier 3, solid dudes that you'd be happy with in your second RB spot. And that's what I think Hampton is. I don't want Omarion Hampton as my RB1 this year. If he's my RB2, I'm okay.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I'm probably taking a little bit of a stand. I'm really high on kind of all the Chargers this year.
Yeah, there's no reason not to be high on the Chargers. All right, let's keep going in tier 3. I have DeAndre Swift as my first guy up here. Actually finished right above Saquon Barkley in fantasy points last season. He won't get to 300 touches because that's not what they do with him there, like some of the other guys in the tiers above. But he's definitely the lead back in one of the league's best offenses, and he scored 10 times last season.
Yep, I've got him in tier 3 as well. We should note that Kyle Monungai is out weeks with an injury as well, and I honestly don't know who the other back is involved
They
there.
still got Roshan.
Oh, okay. So that's not really a threat. So yeah, I'm with you. The Bears defense is atrocious and has suffered a ton of injuries already. So it's going to be a shootout, week after week with those guys.
Absolutely. Quinshon Judkins is my next guy on the list. Maybe the lowest yards per carry on this tier at 3.6 yards per carry last year. But he was the only guy with the juice. There's the juice again on a Browns offense that was just absolutely terrible last year. 494 of his 827 total rushing yards came after contact. So way more than half of his yards came after contact. It was the 7th highest total number of yards after contact in the league. I think kind of proving that Judkins earned everything that he got last year.
And he didn't start playing till week 6 or something?
Week 2. He missed week 1.
Oh, it was. Okay. I couldn't remember if he got the suspension or not. But so I have him in tier 4. The quarterback situation is just it's so bad that like you said, he's doing all this work behind the line of scrimmage to get these yards. He's going to have to do it again because the O-line still stinks. And the quarterback still stinks. Dylan Sampson takes pass game work. So you're kind of left with like rushing yards and touchdowns. And like, how many touchdowns are the Browns scoring this year? And it sucks.
Somebody's got to score some touchdowns in Cleveland. I mean,
do they? I mean, like if they're putting up like 19 points a game, it's like, I don't know. I'm one thing I've found myself doing this year is really fading like Browns, Jets, Dolphins, like teams where I'm just like, you guys are
offenses
junky, and I'd rather not deal with it. Yeah,
it's not a bad plan, but then you're in love with the frickin' Jeremiah Love and the Cardinals, so.
Oh, that's true. Scratch what I just said. Yeah.
Exactly. Javonte Williams is the next guy I have on the list. Last year, he was the middling running back that was suddenly thrust into a lead back role on a good offense. And all of a sudden, he came out of nowhere kind of to finish as an RB1. And if people drafted Javonte Williams last year, they probably made their fantasy playoffs. 1,200 rushing yards and 13 total scores. He doesn't help a lot in the passing game, but again, he's on one of the best offenses in the league. And you can't really take that away from Javonte Williams, and there's nobody else to challenge him for touches.
Yeah, I literally wrote Javonte seems like a middling talent, but it's a great situation. They do like Jaden Blue a little bit more this year, but also that's a like 5'9", 200-pound, fifth round back. Like that's not real competition for Javonte. Yeah, he was 12th in fantasy points per game last season. Like you said, Dallas brought everyone back on offense. Their run game coordinator Clayton Adams is the best in the league. Like it's kind of wheels up for him.
All right. Josh Jacobs is my next guy. And I will note a couple of things on Josh Jacobs. There's an open domestic abuse case against him. And he also hasn't been practicing in camp due to a groin injury. So those two things could keep him out of some of the early season action, possibly. But the other thing is he was a little bit disappointing last year, too. He did have 14 total touchdowns that kept him as an RB1. Still finished in the top 12, but he only had 929 rushing yards in 2025. And compare that to over 1,300 the year before. And then he only had a meager 4.0 yards per carry. So I think that there's some definite red flags on Josh Jacobs, not only from the personal standpoint, but from the player standpoint too.
No, his efficiency definitely took a hit last year. He is getting older, right? He's got a guy with a ton of touches on him. He gets 300 plus touches every year that he's in the league. Like you said, the legal situation, I don't think he's out of the woods for a suspension. The injury, I'm not super worried about. He sounds like he'll be ready for week 1, assuming no suspension. The other concern is the Packers' offensive line is kind of a mess right now. Both guard spots are kind of up in the air. So yeah, it's not as good as it's been, the situation, or just kind of the player the last couple of years that Josh Jacobs has been.
Who just got suspended like earlier this week for another domestic abuse thing in the NFL, and it was like an 8-game suspension? I forget who it was. It might have been a defensive player, so maybe I didn't pay attention to it all that much.
Falcons guy, James Pierce.
Yeah.
James Pierce.
So, but it was an 8-game suspension, and they'll probably whittle that down to 5 or 6 or something like that. But I think that that's a real possibility for Josh Jacobs here.
Not to get into the how bad each crime was, but I think the James Pierce, from what I understand of the James Pierce situation, was much worse, but both bad, of course. I think 8 games would probably be strong, but 4 to 6, you could definitely see that.
All right. David Montgomery's next guy I have on the list. His numbers were a bit depressed last season as Gibbs went nuclear. But as the change of pace guy, he still had 900 total yards and 8 touchdowns. He's in Houston now. He's the unquestioned lead back. Woody Marks was the lead back last year. He's still there, but Woody Marks was able to cobble together 900 total yards and 5 scores last year, and he's not as good as David Montgomery. Monty is 29, though, but I think that Houston's going to try to get every single mile out of him this year.
He's 29, but it's not the worst 29, right? He's been kind of a 40% player with Jahmyr Gibbs the last couple of years, so it's not a full workload. I will say, when Houston traded for Joe Mixon in 2024, he got over 20 touches per game that following season. And like you said, there's nobody else to compete with him there. Like David Montgomery, I don't think is going to be, an explosive player, but if he's efficient on 20 touches a game, like how many guys are getting 18 to 20 touches on a consistent basis in the league?
Absolutely. My next guy on the list was Omarion Hampton, but we already talked about him. So I'm going to skip over to Ramondre Stevenson. who this might raise an eyebrow here. Travion Henderson is getting drafted higher nearly everywhere. Everything else tells you it should be Ramondre, though. The Pats are saying he's going to get most of the first and second down work. He's a significantly better pass blocker than Henderson, which could leave him on the field in third down passing situations. Everyone wants Ramondre to go away and to give Henderson the snaps here. And Henderson was good last year. I think he had like 5.1 yards per carry. But Ramondre's death has been greatly exaggerated.
The coaching staff clearly just trusts Ramondre more. I mean, we saw in the playoffs last year, Travion would get like 4 to 5 touches a game. And like you said, all the important snaps, goal line, third down work, that's all Ramondre Stevenson. I think it's just people like the new shiny toy. And Travion Henderson is an explosive back, for sure. But they just clearly don't trust him to do pass protection, just kind of the finer details.
So yeah, the Patriots have said he's going to get first down, second down, third down passing plays, and goal line. But let's draft the other guy higher.
Yeah, I'm with you. The gap should not be, it should be flipped, if anything.
Yeah. All right. Travis Etienne. Actually, it's the artist formerly known as Travis Etienne because the official pronunciation is now Achan, which I'm just going to call him the artist formerly known as Travis Etienne all season.
I have no problem with guys doing this, but can you tell us, like, when you come into the league, like, what your name is? Like, don't just let it slide for 4 years.
And we all knew about him in college when he was at Clemson. It's like you've been in our lives for like 10 years, Travis. Come on.
Yeah, I'm happy to call you what you want. Just let me know.
Yeah. No, just 10 years later. At least when Chad Johnson changed his name to Ocho Cinco, that was his nickname and it was fun.
Yes.
This isn't fun.
No, this is not fun.
No. I'm very excited about the Saints offense this year. I think that Travis Achan, might be the Javonte Williams of this season, the guy who was maybe kind of a middling back, and he had some decent numbers in Jacksonville last year, but thrust into an offense that I think is going to be better. Even I think the New Orleans offense, I really like it this year. I think we're all ready to move on from Alvin Kamara. But would it surprise you if he just lingered and was a big part of this offense still? That's the one drawback I have here.
Yeah, I'm with you that I think Alvin Kamara is mostly dust, but if he's on the team, he's going to get some third down work, some pass game stuff. I'm with you that like Achan isn't maybe a great talent, but the situation I think is very good. The Saints have their offensive line consists of 3 first rounders, a high second rounder, and then a guard that they just paid $40 or $60 million to this offseason. So the situation's great. The volume, opportunity is excellent. It's just like, how good do you think Travis Achan is? And I think he's fine. So I'm with you that, he could have a Javonte Williams sort of 2026 season.
Yeah. Cam Scattaboo is my next guy. Dude is talented. Dude is fearless. Dude also might be an idiot, and he's injury prone too. No one wants to think about him actually splitting a backfield with Tyrone Tracy either. And I think that is bound to happen. And that's why I'm not ending up with Scattaboo anywhere. I think that the upside is significant, but I think that the downside is he's either injured or it's much more of a backfield split than anybody wants.
Yeah, I'm with you. Have you seen there's a clip going around where he's asked what 6 times 7 is? And he gives up after like 3 seconds.
Does he just do this with his hands?
He probably, yeah. He couldn't make that connection either. I don't love it. Like, there's already talk that the Giants are talking about bringing in Najee Harris after Tyrone Tracy got Jackson Dart killed against the Vikings last week. And again, that's the problem with the Jackson Dart, Cam Scattaboo stuff. Is these guys are just so injury prone, the way they play. And so, yeah, Cam Scattaboo's in some 3-headed ugly backfield with Devin Singletary and Tyrone Tracy and Najee Harris. It's just like, I'm good.
Yeah. I'm good too. I think I'm going to pass on him, but I can see why he's being drafted in tier 3 as a guy that
I have him tier 4 for what it's worth.
Oh, okay. And I think that people wouldn't mind him as their RB2. I would be more comfortable with him as a flex or a guy that I rotate in from my bench.
I don't want to count on him as RB2. No.
Okay. Would you want to count on Breece Hall as an RB2? He's a definite lead back in a definite bad offense, which is why he lands in tier 3 for me. He did register 1,000 yards on the ground for the first time in his 4-year career, but he's never hit double-digit touchdowns in a season.
Yeah, it's tough. He was, I mean,
Trevor's not drafting Jets.
So he avoided serious injury. I don't know if you saw that. He had a non-contact thing. Sounds like he's aiming to be ready to go for week 1. The Jets are projected to have the lowest scoring offense in the league, according to Vegas totals right now. Frank Reich is the offensive coordinator, who's like been out of the NFL for 3 years. This is like the classic dead zone running back of like, well, he's going to get a lot of touches. Okay, and what else is there?
Yeah,
he's the last guy I have in tier 3.
Okay. Last guy I have in tier 3 is Bucky Irving. I keep coming back to this on the Buccaneers. Everyone on that offense was injured last year. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Emeka Egbuka, Baker Mayfield, the offensive line, and Bucky Irving missed 7 games last year. Their whole offense was just hurt the entire season. Bucky's high water mark was 85 rushing yards last year. He only scored 1 rushing touchdown. But in 2024, we saw the otherworldly slipperiness and upside. And if he's back to healthy, that's kind of what I'm banking on here.
Yeah, so I actually had he and Kenny Gainwell in tier 4.
Okay.
I think, the Bucs paid Kenny Gainwell a pretty sizable free agent deal for a running back. Sean Tucker is still there, and he ate some goal line snaps last year. So I feel like you're not left with as much work as you might think. It does help. Like Emeka Egbuka is already hurt, unfortunately. So maybe that kind of, and obviously Mike Evans is gone. So maybe like there's just maybe 2 running back stuff on the field because both of these guys are good pass catchers, Gainwell and Bucky. So I'm just a little lower, I think, on those guys.
Did they build a substation outside of the Bucs practice facility?
We'll have to. Well, the airport in Tampa is right outside Raymond James, so maybe there's some sort of I don't know, airplane pollution or something.
Jet fuel exhaust. Okay. Tier 4 and tier 5. I think we're just going to go through kind of rapid fire. Did you have any more guys in tier 3 that I didn't?
No, that was Breece Hall was the last guy for tier 3 for me.
Tier 4, I have Tyler Algier in tier 4. Just kind of as a backup to Jordan or Jeremiah Love, and let's roll with him if Love is injured. And by the way, these are upside guys for your flex and maybe more. You'd feel uneasy with them in your starting lineup to start the season, though. Next guys I have the combo of Jonathan Brooks and Chuba Hubbard. Hubbard is injured now. I think it's going to be Brooks's job if he can stay healthy, but he hasn't been healthy in 2 years.
Yep, I had him tier 4 as well. Since entering college in 2021, how many seasons does Jonathan Brooks have with more than 30 carries?
30? Oh no, is it that bad? Is it like 2?
It is that bad. It's 1.
1.
So he's a fun flyer, but his ADP is like on fire right now. I'd be a little hesitant to draft him in like round 6 or wherever he's going right now.
Yeah, he's made of paper mache, it seems like.
Yes.
All right. I have another couple tandem of backs here. J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey is next for me.
Yep, I had them in tier 4 as well. I would say Jonah Coleman looked good, and the rookie running back there looked good in his first preseason work. I don't love either of these guys. Dobbins is hurt all the time. Harvey scored a lot of touchdowns and wasn't very efficient when Dobbins was hurt. So
yeah, they are raving about Jonah Coleman too. So that might be something that I actually think I have Jonah Coleman in my tier 5 dart throw kind of scenarios over there. In our work league that we have over at Sports Hub, I drafted Jonah Coleman with one of my last picks, and I feel pretty good about that one. Bashal Tutin and Chris Rodriguez of the Jaguars I have in tier 4.
Same. I prefer Tutin. Sounds like he's the best bet to get sort of the high volume, the important touches, goal line stuff, and maybe pass game work. But Chris Rodriguez,
honestly, who knows?
But kind of who knows? Yeah,
yeah.
It could be like Quint Allen too, honestly.
I have Blake Corum in tier 4. I think that he's real.
Yep, tier 4, good upside guy if Kyron gets hurt.
Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones I have in tier 4.
I'm not really interested in either of those guys right now. The Damon Claiborne the rookie, I kind of would be a tier 5 kind of late flyer guy for me.
Sure. Mason has looked, from all accounts at the Vikings camp, they say he's looking slimmer and he's looking faster, and this might be the kind of offense that will really work for Jordan Mason this year. So a little bullish on Mason. You can get him a little bit after Aaron Jones in most drafts. So kind of like that a little bit there. Travion Henderson I have in tier 4, and it seems like you agree, but the masses don't.
Yep, I'm with you. There's just a lot of second-round running back hype, and why isn't he playing? He's so fast. But Ramondre's good too.
Yeah. Tyrone Tracy I have in tier 4, but as you said, he's a little bit dinged up right now. The Pittsburgh tandem of Rico Dowdle and Jalen Warren I have in tier 4. They both seem to be professional running backs, and I think that they both can protect Aaron Rodgers pretty well, which won't take either of them off the field. But it seems like this might be the most even split backfield in the league.
I think so. I do prefer Rico Dowdle. He was with Mike McCarthy in Dallas a few years ago when Rico Dowdle kind of burst onto the scene. Kenny Gainwell left, so there's 73 catches and 187 touches, including 73 catches. So yeah, I think both of these backs could get 50 catches and have 150 plus carries as well.
I'm going to skip around because you mentioned Kenny Gainwell. I have him in tier 4, and he was voted by the Steelers team as the team MVP last year.
Yeah.
And now he's in Tampa.
It's crazy. Just that one catch against Detroit, I guess.
Jadarian Price and Zach Charbonnet I have in tier 4. I've seen Jadarian Price's ADP kind of go up in the last few weeks. I know Charbonnet probably won't start the season, but I think when Charbonnet does come back, they probably go back to a similar style offense that we saw last year where Charbonnet's gobbling up a lot of goal line stuff.
Yeah, I think whether the touches get divvied up that way specifically, I think it'll be similar to kind of how we saw Charbonnet and Ken Walker last year when both of these guys are healthy. I guess the hope is Jadarian Price is so good early that, they can't take him off the field when Charbonnet's back, but I don't know that he's that kind of talent.
Well, I mean, they saw Kenneth Walker be so good last year in the playoffs, and then they're like, see ya.
Yeah.
So maybe they don't care who's good there. Yeah. A couple more tandems, Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears. This one might get closer to a 50-50 split this year where Pollard was leading the way a little bit before, but everything from camp I'm hearing in Titans world is Spears has looked pretty good and might earn a few more touches.
Yeah, I've got them in tier 5, but 50-50 split with maybe a slight edge to Tyjae Spears. I will say some of the Cam Ward stuff from game 1 was ugly. So I'm just got my antenna up on that one.
That makes me sad. And then finally, Commanders running back duo, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt and Rachaad White. Blah. I don't want any of
Rachaad
this.
White in tier 5 because GCM only had 9 catches last year, so at least Rachaad White can catch the ball. That's worth some points.
So why are you putting him in tier 5 then? Rachaad White might be their lead back.
Oh man. Even then, that team's gonna be bad, man.
I can see putting them in tier 5 anyway. And then let's go to tier 5. Dart throws, bench stashes, bye-week fill-ins. Kyle Monangai is my first guy on that list, and then I have Jonah Coleman. You like any of those guys?
Yeah, I liked Monangai obviously more before his injury. Who was the second one? Jonah Coleman.
Jonah Coleman.
Yeah, I mean he looked good in the first preseason game, and Dobbins is made of glass, and RJ Harvey might just be a guy. So
I have Marshawn Lloyd here, but I know Chris Brooks is probably somebody who might be involved too if healthy.
But I've got Marshawn Lloyd here as
desk.
well. Yep, I've got Marshawn Lloyd here as well. I know he's good. I just can't prove it because he can't stay on the field for like 3 snaps in a row. So obviously we talked about Josh Jacobs' potential, availability for the season. So you got some upside there. Lloyd was a top 100 pick. Chris Brooks, they probably do trust more in pass protection. So that is something to note. But Marshawn Lloyd's got some juice. Right? So I would just keep an eye out.
I'll just stream through the last 4 guys I have in tier 5. Woody Marks, Keaton Mitchell, Alvin Kamara, Tank Bigsby. Anything interest you there?
Yeah, Bigsby, it sounds like has had really nice camp. And they gave up like a 4th and a 5th round pick for him like a year and a half ago. So I like that one. Another one I've got is Jaden Blue, the backup to Javonte Williams in Dallas. It sounds like he's taking camp a lot more seriously this year. He's got 4.4 speed. There's nobody else there. So I kind of like him as a late flyer too.
All right. We did it. Those are our running back tiers. Did you have any other guys that I might have missed in tier 4 or 5?
I don't think so. Yeah, we talked Quinshon Judkins. No.
We did everybody. It. Hey, happy drafting to everybody. I hope these tier shows kind of helped you out. I did see a couple people who are nice enough to comment on Twitter and other places that they really enjoyed the tiers making section of this and not, giving straight up rankings and going, I'm pounding my chest saying this guy's number. We're trying to put them in. Hey, this is the end of the tier break. You want to get these type of guys. That's better than a ranking system in my mind. That's how I draft. I don't know about how you draft, Trevor, because you draft all crazy, keep sniping me on picks and everything.
No, I'm with you though. Like if this guy running back 12 or 14, it's like, well, that's maybe not as important as like understanding just the general area we believe they should be drafted in.
Yeah. Where's the cutoff? Where's the cutoff? All right, Trevor, you're going to be out at the Draft Nation drafts for any of our listeners who are going out to Circa this weekend to participate in that. If any of you are watching and are going out to the huge Draft Nation spectacular out there in Las Vegas, go say hi to Trevor.
Yeah, we'll have a few people there from the company, so stop by.
Scott Fish will be out there as well. I heard that there's several nights of open bar parties, Trevor. So you better get ready to strap on and get going.
I guess.
All right, Trevor, enjoy your trip to Vegas. This is Matt Harrison with Trevor Jones. Thank you for watching Fantasy Football Almost Daily. We'll see you next week.
This was Fantasy Football Almost Daily. Please subscribe and give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen to podcasts.